My name is Daniel. I grew up poor, in a small house with broken walls. We had no garden, no car to drive, no heater in winter, no fan in summer. My father cleaned streets, my mother washed clothes, I had one pair of shoes. But I had a dream, a small dream, a big hope deep in my heart. I wanted to fly, not in dreams, but in the sky, with wings and wind. People laughed loud, they pointed fingers, they said, "You, a pilot." I stayed quiet, I said nothing, but inside me a fire burned strong. They saw a poor boy with dirty hands, but I saw the sky above. At night I looked up, stars so far. Planes flew fast, clouds moved slow. I closed my eyes, stretched my arms, and felt like I was flying too. My room was cold, my bed was hard, but my dream made me feel warm. My mom saw me. She touched my head and whispered, "Never stop dreaming." She worked all day. She cleaned and cooked. She never had rest or sleep. But she smiled wide when I showed my drawings, planes of every kind. I cut pictures from old papers and pasted them on my wall. One day she said, "These hands will fly, not sweep the floor forever." My school was small, my bag was torn, my books were old and used. But I loved to read, I loved to learn, and I loved everything about planes. I sat in the back, I took notes fast. I asked many questions. Some kids teased me, they made jokes. They said I was too poor to dream. I didn't fight, I just smiled and looked outside at the open sky. After school ended, I sold bread, then helped Mom clean the homes. At night I studied in dark cafes with free Wi-Fi and loud noise. I read about wings, about fuel and engines, about speed and wind. One cafe owner saw me there. He gave me tea and said, "Study hard." His words stayed with me. They felt warm, better than food or clothes. I believed in luck, but more in work, more in trying every day. I knew it would hurt, I knew I'd cry, but I also knew I'd fly. Some nights I cried, not from pain, but from the weight of my dream. Dreams are heavy when you're young and when the world says no. But I kept going, one step at a time, one page, 1 hour, one breath. I told myself, if I give up, no one will believe again. I had no mentor, no big hero, no rich uncle, no pilot friend. I had one thing, a picture of a plane and a promise in my chest. My mom once said, "If you want it with hunger and fire." And I did. Every morning, every night, I wanted it more than air. I finished school, my scores were high, my heart was full, my hands were ready. I applied for help, I sent my papers, I waited weeks, I prayed each night. Then came the news, a short email, one sentence only, but it changed everything. "You got the scholarship," it said clear. "Come study flying, your dream is real." I screamed with joy. I hugged my mom. We both cried. We both laughed. But the ticket price, it was too high, more than we had, more than we dreamed. My mom looked tired, but stood tall. She sold our mixer. She asked for help. She knocked on doors. She said one line, "Please help my son. He wants to fly." Some people helped. Some gave coins, others gave clothes, and some gave hope. I packed my bag, just a few things, some shirts and books, and my dream. At the airport gate, Mom held me close. She kissed my head, then looked away. "Fly high, my son," she said slow. "Don't forget where you started from." The plane was loud, my hands were cold, my seat was small, my thoughts were big. I looked outside. Clouds were near, the sky was blue, and my eyes full. I landed far, a new country, new streets and faces, new rules and words. Everything was strange, even the food, the buses, the stores, the way they spoke. I didn't understand. I felt lost, but I smiled still. I had no choice. I walked to school, map in hand. I got lost twice, but found the way. My class was big, my accent strong, but I raised my hand. I asked questions. They laughed sometimes, but I stayed strong. I knew why I came. I knew my goal. I lived alone. My room was small. My bed was old. My nights were long. I had one chair, one tiny stove, a light that blinked, and a cold floor. Winter came fast, no warm coat, just layers of shirts and shaking hands. My fingers froze, my lips turned blue, but I kept reading. I kept learning. I worked at night. I cleaned tables. I washed dishes. I took out trash. Then I studied, eyes half closed, with tired arms and a burning mind. Some nights I slept on library chairs, hugging my book, dreaming of skies. One teacher saw and said to me, "You work hard, that's how you win." I wanted wings, not medals or praise, just wings to fly and clouds to touch. I made a wall full of notes, photos of jets, facts about flight. Every morning I touched that wall and said to it, "One day I'll be there." And every night I whispered soft, "Don't give up, just one more day." Other students laughed, some gave up, some dropped out, but I held tight. I had no backup, no easy path, but I had hunger, the kind that burns. I didn't want rich life, just sky life, just one seat in one cockpit. That dream was mine, not for sale, not for rent, and not for giving up. When I missed home, I called Mom. Her voice was tired, but always warm. She told me jokes. She sang old songs. She reminded me, "The sky is near." Sometimes I cried when calls ended, but then I looked up and breathed deep. Clouds moved slow, stars blinked high, and I knew one day I'd be there too. My second year started, the pressure grew, classes got harder, the days flew. I studied more, slept even less, drank cheap coffee, skipped many meals. My eyes were red, my back in pain, but I kept going, step by step. Each morning cold, my breath like smoke. I walked to school, my heart on fire. Tests were hard, the books were thick, but I read all, even the footnotes. Sometimes I failed, just small tests, but I stood up and tried again. Failure did hurt, but quitting was worse. I never quit. I never stopped. I sat in front, I asked more questions, I stayed behind, I cleaned the lab. Then one day, the list came out, students picked for flight training soon. I checked the page, heart beating fast. I found my name, I shouted loud. My classmates clapped, my teacher smiled, he said one line I still remember. You earned this seat with sweat and fight. Now go and fly. Don't look down. The training began. It was all real. No more books, no more theory. We met our planes, small and old. But they were wings, and that was enough. The first lesson came. I was nervous. Hands were shaking. Heart was wild. The instructor sat, gave clear rules, then said, "It's yours. Take the lead." I grabbed the stick, looked straight ahead. The sky was wide, the runway long. My hand was firm, I pushed slow. The plane rolled fast, the wheels left ground. I saw the clouds so near now and felt the wind inside my chest. Tears filled my eyes, but I smiled big. This was my sky, my dream alive. The instructor laughed, looked surprised. He said softly, "You okay, pilot?" I nodded once, couldn't speak, then finally said, "This is not fear." He asked again, "Then why the tears?" I looked outside and answered clear. "It's not just flying, it's going home. It's for my mom. It's for my street." Each hour passed. My skills grew strong. I learned the turns, the climbs, the dives. I made mistakes, missed some signs, but I learned fast, I learned deep. Every time I flew, I felt more sure, more ready, more alive inside. The sky became my new classroom, full of lessons, full of peace. At night I wrote, in my notebook, what I learned, what I felt. Sometimes I drew pictures of planes and little clouds around my notes. I taped my license above my bed next to the wall with my old map. My room was poor, but my mind rich, and my dream now had a date. One day it came, the solo flight, no teacher there, just me and sky. I checked the plane, touched every part, climbed inside, breathed in deep. The engine roared. I pushed the stick, the plane obeyed, we flew alone. No voices spoke, just wind and wings. I was the pilot, truly free. I flew for hours, over green fields, above rivers, under clouds. The sun was warm, the sky was wide, I sang loud, I laughed hard. No one saw, but I was proud, proud of scars, of every fall. I landed safe, wheels kissed ground. I closed my eyes, said, I made it. That night I called my mother again, told her all every second. She cried again. I heard her laugh. I felt her joy across the sea. She said, "You fly, but I see more. I see a boy who touched the stars." I cried too, with phone in hand, then looked outside and whispered low. This dream was hard, but I never stopped. I never gave up, not once. Some dreams sleep, but mine woke loud. It knocked doors, it broke walls. Now I fly, with old shoes still, with full heart, and new wings. And still I say, this was for her, for the child me, and for hope. Graduation day came, I wore my suit. It was old, but I looked proud. My name was called. I walked forward. I shook hands and took my paper. I looked around, saw my friends. Some cried, some smiled, all clapped. I took a breath, looked above, whispered soft, "Thank you, God." After a month, I got a call from an airline. They needed a pilot. I said yes without delay, then danced alone in my small room. I called my mom, told her news. She cried again, laughed out loud. She said, I knew it. I told you, you would fly." Training started fast. New plane, big team, strict rules, tight days. We had tests, long hours, hard drills, but I felt ready. The captain watched, said few words, but his eyes saw every move. He said, "You're calm, focused too, like someone born to fly." Then the day came. First official flight. Real passengers, real job. I woke early, heart racing fast, ironed my shirt, tied my shoes. I looked in mirror, saw my face, not a boy but a man. I smiled big, grabbed my bag, walked out proud into the sun. At the airport, people walked fast. Lights blinked, screens changed, kids laughed. I wore my badge, passed security, found the gate, met my crew. They smiled, kind, welcomed me in, asked my name, shared some jokes. The captain came, shook my hand, said, "Let's fly safe." We entered the plane, checked each part, read the logs, confirmed all. I sat down, touched the controls, felt the leather, smelled the metal. The cabin crew spoke, passengers sat, babies cried, doors closed. I looked outside. Sky was gray, but I felt light. Engines started. Wheels turned slow, then faster. Runway long and wet. Captain said, "Your hands now." I nodded once, pushed ahead, stayed calm. Plane lifted up, clouds passed by, city below, sky ahead. I smiled wide, heart full. This was it, my first flight. I spoke to tower, voice clear, said the code, got the green. I checked the map, watched the wind, stayed sharp, listened well. The captain nodded, eyes pleased, said, "Good work," I said. "Thanks." The sun came out, clouds opened up, the view was gold. Above the earth it felt quiet, but strong, calm, and alive. Every minute mattered, every move counted, focus deep, no space for fear. We crossed countries, saw mountains, rivers, forests, lakes, and towns. The hours passed, but I never tired. I was home here. Then I saw on my screen the next point, my homeland. My heart jumped, fingers cold. I told the crew, "Almost there." The city came. Lights below, roads like lines, homes like dots. I thought of Mom, sitting alone, waiting for me, holding tea. We began descent, slow and smooth, followed path, stayed on time. The airport near, my country close, my heart heavy, eyes wet. Captain said, "You land now." I took control, hands steady, breath deep. Wheels touched ground, soft and clean. People clapped. I smiled again. I walked out, saw the gate, looked around, searched for her, and there she was, small and tired, sitting still, holding her scarf. I ran fast, dropped my bag, hugged her tight, kissed her face. She said, "My son, my wings." I said, "I'm home. I made it." We sat down under the sun, drank tea, shared bread, talked slow. She told me things I never knew, like days she cried, nights she prayed. I told her all, every fall, every step, every rise. She held my hand, smiled soft, said, "You flew, and so did I." Later that night, I stayed awake, looked outside, saw stars above. I thought of school, broken shoes, old notes, dark nights, silent streets. I closed my eyes, breathed in deep, felt peace, felt thanks, felt light. This dream was hard, but now it's real. Now it flies, just like me. Days passed fast. I flew more, saw new skies, met kind people. Each flight was different, each day new. I learned more, grew stronger. My skills improved, my fear left, my hands steady, my eyes clear. I followed rules, helped my team, stayed sharp, respected my job. People smiled, thanked me kindly. Some cried, hugged me tight. They flew for love, for work, for dreams, for family far away. I flew for them, for me too, for my mom, for our story. Each landing mattered, each takeoff counted, each life behind a seat. I sent money every month to my mom to fix our home. She bought a door, then windows, then paint, then a small fridge. She called often, told me news, neighbors proud, old friends amazed. She said, "You gave us hope, you brought light, you gave meaning." One day I spoke, at a school full of kids, full of dreams. They asked many things, laughed loud, listened close, clapped hard. One boy said, "I want wings." Another said, "I want stars." I said, "You can, if you try. If you fall, rise again." After my talk, I sat down, looked around, saw young faces. I saw myself in their eyes, the same hope, the same fire. I felt proud. I felt deep. I felt full. I felt alive. That day stayed in my heart like a light, like a map. My captain called, gave me news, a test ahead, a new level. It was big, it was hard, many fail, few pass. I studied late, drank tea, took notes, read rules. I flew well, stayed calm, asked questions, watched the best. The day came, test day, hands cold, mind ready, eyes sharp. I wore my suit, my lucky tie, my best shoes, my brave smile. I entered the room, saw the team, gave respect, sat down. They asked much, gave tasks, tested logic, tested nerves. Then the flight test, long hours, many turns, sudden changes, weather tough, wind strong, clouds thick, but I stayed focused. I flew smooth, talked clear, made choices, stayed calm. At the end, they nodded. One said, "You passed." I smiled big. my chest warm, my hands light, my head clear. I called my mom, said the news. She screamed, laughed, cried. She said, "I told them all, I knew it, I felt it." She danced alone in the kitchen, with music, with joy. My pay rose, my name spread, I got respect, I got offers, but I stayed loyal to my team, to my story, to my sky. I visited home, brought gifts, kissed hands, hugged many. They cheered loud, made food, told stories, showed pride. I saw my room, small still but clean, full of light. My wall had photos of my flights, my badge, my first suit. My mom kept all, even notes, even broken pens, even crumbs. She said, "Every piece matters, every step counts, every tear gave this." One morning I woke early, took a walk, watched kids play. They threw paper planes, laughed loud, ran fast, fell down. I joined them, taught them tricks, told them tales, made them dream. One said, "Will I fly too?" I said, "Yes, if you want." I gave them my book, the one I made with simple tips. It had drawings, short lessons, big words, small hope. They opened wide, asked more, wrote dreams, drew wings. I smiled big. This was it, not just flying, but giving. Now I speak in halls, in schools, in shows, in films. People listen, people cry, people ask, people dream. They say how, I say try. They say hard, I say worth. This life gave more than just sky. It gave meaning. When I fly, I look down. I see streets, small houses, tiny parks. I wonder who's there, who's dreaming now, who's hungry, who's flying soon. Maybe a boy with no shoes, with a dream, with a voice. Maybe a girl with a map, with a star, with a story. So I fly strong with care, with love, with duty, for me, for Mom, for the kids, for the dreams. My wings are not mine, they're ours. They're built on hope. And I will fly as long as I can, for all of us.